I've never looked at any rapper or artist as my savior, but studying your guys' music, for instance, and many others. And part of what I loved about rap was I was able to learn so much and get so much information that, especially when we were growing up, wasn't necessarily taught in public education or anywhere else for that matter. Um, at least educational system wise, it was definitely taught in elsewhere. But that being said, how do you balance the kind of famous Boogie Down Productions, the edutainment element of it, both being in academia yourself, but then also being a producer and somebody that's creating this art?
Because the art should make you curious to go find out more. You know, Kweli is a human being and he has faults. I'm a human being and I have faults. We're not saying that we're perfect. We're just saying, think about this. Have you ever thought about it this way? Like, then it's the responsibility of the listener to pick up and go find out, like, what is he talking about? What is the book Breath, Eyes, Memory, that kind of thing. Like, why is he even mentioning this, and what's the significance of this? Why are we talking about that? And it's like, it's not it's not anything meant to be preachy. It's just letting you know where we come from. I mean, we come from a time where in hip hop it made it purposeful to talk about something. I mean, yes, we can say we're the best rapper and I'm the best producer. I got the hottest beats, but I'm gonna give you 13 songs of that. It's like, what else? What else? Tell me about you as a person. And I think it's just part of the relational process relating with our audience.
Yeah, and on the title track, The Confidence in Knowing, Talib says you got to be brave enough to be yourself. And with that, on the one hand, in rap history, we have this disdain for anything related to the system. On the other hand, referring to KRS-One again, and Public Enemy, and Ice Cube, and all these other great Paris, all the other great political rappers before Talib Kweli emerged, that clearly Kumo D even, there were plenty of artists that were clearly not only educated, but promoting being educated, and that was valuable. So for yourself, as somebody that has walked these two seemingly disparate, but really shouldn't be disparate lanes, how has that evolved for you as an educator and academic, but then also as a producer, as a hip hopper?
My whole thing is that these two should coincide. You really shouldn't have one without the other, because hip hop culture has everything that you need to get the knowledge, wisdom, understanding that you're looking for. And so, whether it's, learning about the culture, you're trying to learn how to b-boy or DJ, or, you want to get up, like, whatever you're doing is like, it's a learning process. I mean, so for me, they go hand in hand. You know what I mean, Soren? It's like hip hop and education to me just makes sense. And that's why, like, when like I wrote a book with John Robinson called Youth Culture Power. And so when we talk to professional development, we do PDs for teachers. And when we talk to them, we tell them it doesn't make sense to take hip hop culture out of schools. That's what you guys keep trying to do, because all you're focusing on is the misogyny and the bad things that you hear about it, right? But there's bad things in everything. There's bad things in movies. You're gonna take out every movie. You're gonna take out. Well, they're trying to take out every book, right? Depends on where you are, right? But my point is, like, you've got to just have conversations with the students, talk to them about it. Instead of trying to ban everything, let's have some conversations.
Yeah, I think that's where the real progress comes, I would argue.
I would
Um,
agree.
yeah. And with the confidence in knowing you have the Native Son song, and on the production side of that one in particular, it's very throwback, and then it incorporates one of my favorite lesser discussed beats of all time, JB's Coming Through by the Jungle Brothers. So, and shout out to J Ro. We talked about Done by the Force of Nature, Jungle Brothers on Unique Access. So definitely check out the link if you haven't already. But for you, uh, what is it about that beat in particular that stands out to you after so long?
Yeah, that was something that Quali wanted to do, and he asked me, could I flip that? And as a crate digger, I've got all the elements. That wasn't an issue at all. I hadn't even thought about it. That was really something he thought of and he wanted to do. And I think that comes from his friendship with Pos and Mace and Tip, like, and his respect for them. And he comes to my house and I've got a painting of them that I got from a good friend of mine, and I've got all their records. And I was actually playing one of their records one day when he came in. He was just like, yo, they're every he's like, we all come from them, like our way of thinking, our line of thought, our native tongues down to Soulquarians, that whole area. And so he's like, let's do that tribute. I mean, that was something I whipped up real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Here you go. Let's do it.
Okay. And with that, the throwback element I thought was very powerful. And a couple of times on the album, this being one, the drums on Native Sons are very much in the forefront, whereas some of the other ones they're more in the background because of the whether it's the jazz or the other instruments that you're incorporating. So, as a producer now, how do you feel when drums are more prominent for you as a beat maker versus they're more in the background?
That's a really good I think it's because you know me. That's a great question. For me, I'm always drums in the forefront. I start every beat. When I make a beat, I make it with drums first. I start everything with drums. To me, the drums are the genesis. That's the essence. That's what how I want to feel. So, like, when I'm digging in the crates, when I'm digging, I'm looking for different drum elements, different drum patterns, drum sounds, like just how can I change up and make my stuff a little different by the drums. And so I like when drums are in the forefront, just like native tongues. You listen to the boom, the bap, the boom bap, like that. For me, that's what I'm listening for. But I do realize that nowadays, the things with no drums in the sample, but I mean, I can do that too because I'm a student of hip hop, so I can do both.
Clearly. Now, speaking of doing different things, We Outside is another song that I thought was interesting because as we continue emerging from the pandemic, even though a lot of it is still lingering and the effects of it are still lingering, what did you learn as a person and as a creative person, the what you kind of got away from or might have missed being inside for so long or having to adhere to a lot of the shutdown stuff versus now getting back into, I imagine, a much more normal rhythm?
I think hip hop adapts, man. You know what I'm saying? It's funny when you mention something like that because, of course, when they said, "Oh, pandemic, you can't go outside," blah blah blah. So hip hop started doing, DJing on Instagram Live, right? And that was going for a while. And then for some reason, everybody except for D Nice was able to was getting stopped. Like every time I was DJing on Instagram Live, I got cut, copyright, blah blah blah. And so what does hip hop do? Pivot. Yo, what's this Twitch thing? Well, what's that? Yo, tell everybody we're going to Twitch. And so now, boom, you got Twitch. Like nothing stops hip hop. That's why I love it so much. And now that we're back, outside, able to be outside, it's good for the relational aspects, the connections. That for me is what I miss when we were inside.
Okay. And on here on the We Outside, Talib has a very interesting lyric about the respecting law and order till you're the one being drawn, basically saying you're the one on trial. So, uh, the challenge that I often have is the arbitrary enforcement of the laws, and obviously that extends to the courtroom because that's part of the law and order aspect. But that being said, how do you deal as an educator in particular dealing with this I know this isn't unique to the United States, but this blatant hypocrisy that we have so often with our institutions. How do you navigate that with your students if they ask you questions or when you decide to bring it up on your own?
you know, we just keep it, as the young people would say, keep it 100, keep it a buck. You know, we just basically talk about it being it is what it is. Like you understand the powers that be are going to be the way they are. You just keep moving, you keep going, and you don't stop, man. Like I don't really worry about that because I keep doing what I'm supposed to do, and that's create and be creative because that's my therapy.
Okay, fair enough. Too busy surviving to be living in the ghetto. Uh,
To be living.